There's a lot of other people I could mention in my career who are camera, art director, costume, etc., etc. But and I used to deliberately change because it's dangerous to get too secure, and I feel a bit like being an athlete. It's good to be on thin ice, so you really have to try. Then I realized that I was more succeeding in speed and doing more films, because I used to get fed up having to wait for 18 months before I start my next movie. So I tried to stay with the same team, because then you don't exactly phone it in, because none of my people they're way better than ever phoning anything in. So I have them there so I can move like lightning.
It's top end production design, hair and makeup, costume design, like just profoundly lucky to work with people of that talent, because it all comes together to form the aesthetic and the image of the film that you're trying to make.
I want to start off with a group of lepers. First thing you see is coming to rob is fucking lepers. So I want to go up by the gate when a crowd of lepers coming at him and then shooting with spears. So hold me back, keep them back. They're just begging.
Copy.
They're probably like a little community of like 10 or 12.
Okay.
And maybe we'll do that up, coming out of the ruins up there, right? Okay. That's the first thing he sees. And just coming down here, just him looking at the room as it is. It looks pretty bedraggled and looks great. Then we'll go that way and end up outside the gate, yeah.
I have only 2 words for how we did everything, and those 2 words are Ridley Scott. He has capacities that are almost superhuman in terms of keeping stuff in his head. He storyboards the movie frame by frame months before you ever start shooting. He has all the battle sequences in his head, and other sequences too, but all the big spectacle things he has. And not only does he draw them himself, he also paints them himself.
Ridley's a genius, like his late great brother, and it's more than an opportunity and a pleasure. He's I'm gonna say a national treasure and all that. I know he'd hate me saying those kind of things. He's a gruffy old genius, you know, and I love him. He just gets on with it, and he's a visionary. I mean, what he sees and how he puts it together, and his team, you know, I don't have to think or worry about anything. Just put the gear on and do my part.
You have 2 up there, 1 there, 1 here.
2,
That's
4, 8 today.
The speed, if you know where to and how to do it, 5 cameras are 5 times faster. If I've got a big scene, I have 11 cameras. I'll say, camera, gonna walk in there, it's gonna come. And that comes from me boarding it, because I know where to put a camera. But that said, for a cameraman, it's like John Matheson or Darius Wolski, it's hell, because they gotta cope with multi-angles and different size lenses. But it means everyone is on all the time. And I dress the camera operators in costume. And I wrap the cameras in some sacking so you barely see them. If you saw a film now, you can see, oh, there's a camera. Well, I think at least 3 here.
Yeah, we're getting three on the floor.
It's really efficient. But if you're not used to it, don't try it. You'll get into chaos. You won't make a shot till 3 o'clock. Normally we're shooting by about 9 in the morning. You know, it's all to do with prep, dude. Prep. If you walk on the floor, you don't know what to do, you haven't prepped.
And John was the perfect DP. He had been here before, he did a brilliant job. He's a storyteller with shadows and light, with character, with the action. So the old team was back.
This is the market square outside the Coliseum, and the entry to our set is here. We're looking at an ancient arch which is very early in the empire. That's why it's partially buried. This was built 500 years ago, we're surmising. And beyond that is the actual wall of the Fort Recostoli here in Malta. And the reason why we're here is because we're surrounded by ancient stone walls as a backdrop to our set build within it. And we tried to match the flavor of the existing walls to the set pieces as best we could, in color and texture. This was inspired by David Roberts, who was a famous English 18th century illustrator and engraver. And it's kind of inspired by one of his engravings. We had it on the first Gladiator, so we thought, why not bring it back?
The scale of the movie was so massive, it wasn't like anything we'd ever seen before, even in terms of comparing it to the first movie. I don't know how many blocks it was, but it felt like about 14 or 15 blocks of ancient Rome, the full-size Colosseum, which made it possible to make the movie on the scale we wanted to make it.
It's pretty impressive as sets go, but it's still, in proportion, slightly smaller than the actual Colosseum.
Coming back for Gladiator 2, Arthur Max, the fact that he would return and once again build the arena, he could pull out his old plans, that was a great beginning.
So we shot this movie in 2 countries. We shot for a few days in Morocco on the edge of the Sahara Desert, but the vast majority of the film was shot in Malta, in the Malta Film Studios, which is a stunning backdrop in an old Napoleonic fort, where we also shot quite a lot of our previous movie, Napoleon.
Well, Arthur's like, you know, the expert. By now he's the expert on medieval architecture, medieval Rome, and anything period I tend to jump on. I'll say, oh, here we go, Arthur. Here we go again.
What he said to me, I think, which was most significant, was we're going to go for scale on this one, which I took to mean we're going to build everything bigger than we had done in the first place, which was very big to start with. But for example, where we are now in Malta, the Rome set in Fort Apostoli, where we built the original Rome set with the Colosseum and Palace and the Forum. We used the whole site this time, whereas previously I think we only used about half of it. We built the Colosseum pretty much the same, except it's a bit higher, has a more impressive entry arch. We built a giant triumphal arch. We had one on the first movie, but it was a very small version of what we ended up with on this. A truly, you know, triumphal arch, where we had an enormous military triumphal procession, and that was very, very successful. I think worked very well.
He built the Emperor's Palace, which is gorgeous. He built the Colosseum, which was incredible. He built the city of Rome, which is many blocks and arches and a statue of Pedro Pascal, General Cassius, and research that he did. At any given point, he was an expert on whatever we were shooting. So the staggering replication of the feeling that you were actually in Rome and having been to the Colosseum and then going to see our Colosseum, you really feel the similarities.
Gladiators! Gladiators! It was all a spectacle, just the size of the damn Colosseum. I was like, they built the Colosseum. I'm like, man.
And then you'd see lining up for probably a half a mile the extras in full costume walking to the set. So going to the office really meant driving and seeing 1,000 extras in full hair and makeup in the beating sun, walking towards the set and then entering the Colosseum. So it was crazy.
I built 47% practically, 4 stories high. It is actually 5 actual scale, and all the streets, all the columns, all the buildings were full scale. And it's still cheaper than doing that all digitally.
And the amount of locations that we've found on this relatively small island are extraordinary. This particular area we're in today, we built a giant arch of Rome for an army to go through and put a stream in beside it, and we had the winding country we needed around it.
And we went to a beautiful, very, very old city of Medina on a hillside that's a gorgeous, intact city where we shot Lucilla's house.
The light in both of these places with huge big skies, spectacular light. And here we did exactly the same. We made Rome in Malta and we made Rome again in Malta. and it's wonderful.
Jonty is a brilliant costume designer. What she did with Macrinus's costumes and Lucilla's costumes and the Emperor's costumes, poor Lucius gets to wear the same thing all the time, more or less all the time. Not that he doesn't look great in it, but he's a slave. But the people that aren't slaves, she really went to town with, and both emperors wear ravishingly ornate costumes. And Lucilla, I think she had maybe 11 costume changes, or maybe more, I can't remember, but everyone is different, everyone is beautiful.
We went very couture. We took a lot from the last century, Holstein and Courage and people like that. And Ridley looked at them and he went, yes, great colours, but I want a lot more bling, a lot more zhuzh. So we went back to the drawing board and we put a lot more trim on. As you can see, I mean, this is so gorgeous. We've got embroidery, we've got jewels, we've got trim, it's just spectacular. It was a joy to do, as were the emperors. They were a joy to do. I mean, so wonderful to do these young boys. They're both in their 20s. They're both completely mad, and they have red hair, and we were just dressing them out there, but using fabulous fabrics, using lots of embroidery, using just wonderful gold on gold, silver on silver, ancient embroidery, ancient, not saris, but ancient Indian embroideries. We were just using what we could for all four of those actors, in actual fact. It was very exciting. This is actually Macrinus's last outfit, so we've made 7 or 8 of them. He does get into a bit of a scrap. And so this I just love because it's so rich. This is what Macrinus is wearing during the naval fight in the Colosseum. These are all made with gold bullion. They're all embroidered on by hand in Pakistan. And they're quite special. I wish I'd had more dealings with Paul, but I share this credit with David Crossman, who takes complete charge of military, which means he does all the Praetorians, all the Numidians, all the Roman legionaries, and all the gladiators.
We are very grateful to the people of Malta and the Malta Film Commission. Malta is a beautiful country. It has, for such a small, tiny population, we hired lots and lots of extras. They were good sports. It was hot as hell, and there they were in heavy woolen robes and wearing helmets and stuff like that, you know, army costumes, and they were also people in togas. They were, you know, the extras were phenomenal. Just feeding the extras was a giant job. Transportation was a giant job. They made everything as easy as they could be, and they rolled out the red carpet. Obviously, Malta appreciates everything Ridley did for the country, and we felt very welcomed back.